Governance refers to the systems and processes that occur within an organisation to ensure it's managed effectively. These could include things like external policy, statutory controls, internal policy and procedures, internal structures, audit, and so on. Corporate governance is often seen as tedious and a bit dull, so it ends up being pushed to just 1 or 2 members of staff or directors. This is a real mistake because corporate governance really works for effective organisations, and so you should try and take best advantage. What is good corporate governance? In a way, it's easier to say what isn't good corporate governance. A non-executive director who doesn't fully understand their business might end up relying on internal experts rather than seeking independent external advice. A director may not be aware of what's going on within their teams or might have something that they don't particularly want to share with other board members. A manager might not be aware of how much money they're spending or is being spent within their team and so go over budget and so on. There are many examples of poor corporate governance, ranging from large scale such as Enron or the collapse of the banking sector, to much smaller scale. So when you're offering contracts, are you sure they're the best contract for the organisation, or is it better for the person who's actually the decision maker in that process? Or is a member of staff fiddling their expenses? These are all examples of where corporate governance has broken down. There are lots of different examples of good corporate governance, and they've been written about in different ways. Whatever that you refer to, they all have key principles. These are the rights of shareholders, the rights of stakeholders, that the roles and responsibilities of the board are clear, that people act in an open and transparent way, and that they behave ethically and with integrity. I think there are probably 2 extra to add to this that are relevant to you, and that's about being proportionate and being based on risk. If you're a small organisation, there's no point in having such complicated governance structures that you can't actually staff them. Obviously, bigger organisations need more checks and balances in place to make sure that things are going on the right track. If you employ staff, are you at the very least meeting current legislation? So are you paying the minimum wage? Are you offering the right number of paid days leave? If you don't have good corporate governance, you as an individual can end up in trouble. Things like corporate manslaughter, health and safety legislation apply to directors as well as to the organisation as a whole. What can you do to ensure good corporate governance? The key thing is to take responsibility. It really doesn't just belong with one director or a couple of managers or internal audit. It's the responsibility of everyone within an organisation. How certain are you that you behave with integrity, that you're open and transparent in your decision-making process? Are there the right sort of policies in place to enable that sort of culture, for example, a whistleblowing policy or a disclosure policy? Finally, does the board have the skills and experience it needs to oversee corporate governance for the organisation, or could it benefit from some external independent advice?